Hello everybody, this is Catholic Dad episode number 137, The Wrath of God. Sometimes there's stories in your life that seem so unbelievable that you kind of have to share them with people and maybe think that God was involved in some way. And maybe I'm not. I mean, I really don't know, but there's a story that occurred in 2009 that I think bears some meditating upon and thinking about. I'm going to share it with you, and I'm not claiming that the dude was deserving from God's wrath or not, and I'm not claiming anything of the sort, but it is a story that exists and you can actually look it up. So there's a guy named Irving Bud Feldkamp is his name. Feldkamp, F-E-L-D-K-A-M-P, I believe. Irving is his first name. His nickname's Bud. Well, anyway, he was a dentist in California, and he was also a businessman in the business of aborting babies. Apparently he had like 17 abortion clinics. And I remember when this happened, by the way. I thought it was a big deal and nobody else did. But well, anyway, so he's the largest private earner of abortion dollars in the entire country, probably in the entire world for that matter. And he, you know, he's a multi-millionaire. I don't even know if maybe he's a billionaire. Well, anyway, one winter in 2009, also, he was a Seventh-day Adventist as well, which takes some irony later on in the story. But well, anyway, so he's in the winter of 2009, he decides to fly his basically his entire family, his kids and his grandkids, to an exclusive resort in Montana, a ski resort that's essentially closed to the public and only open to the rich and the famous. And so what he did was he chartered a plane, or he has a plane, I don't even know, and flies the bulk of his family. There were 7 adults and 7 children on board, and they're flying into Butte, Montana, the most Catholic city in America, mind you. You know, Helena, well, maybe Helena's number 1, but anyway, they're flying into Butte, Montana, and the plane goes down and it crashes into a cemetery, and that's kind of why it's a little bit ironic. The plane crashes, 7 adults and 7 children perish in the fiery wreck. It crashes into a Roman Catholic cemetery. You know, it's a pretty Catholic place in Montana. And it crashes into, I think it was called Holy Family Cemetery. Now, Bud Feldkamp wasn't on the plane at all. He was actually driving to the ski resort. So he lived through it, and his entire family essentially perished in the plane crash. But where did they perish? Well, they crashed into a cemetery, and I don't really know the exact location, but it's every Catholic cemetery in America, well, not everyone, but a lot of them have something called the Tomb of the Unborn, which is a tomb dedicated to the aborted children. You know, in America, or in the world for that matter, that this is an empty tomb that nobody fills, but it's dedicated to unborn children. And so this plane in rural Montana comes short of Butte, Montana, crashes into a Catholic cemetery. Now, there are Seventh-day Adventists. The ironic part is Seventh Days thinks that Catholics are the whore of Babylon, right? I mean, that our religion is the most corrupt thing in Christianity's ever seen, right? So, but it crashes. He loses his entire family in a Catholic cemetery, and it crashes just adjacent to the Tomb of the Unborn. Now, here's the largest abortion recipient in terms of blood dollars in the entire world, who loses 14 family members, almost his entire immediate family, in a Catholic cemetery, essentially in the Tomb of the Unborn. That's weird, if you ask me. How many tombs of the unborn are there in America? I don't know, maybe 500 max or something, maybe 1,000, I don't know. But in Montana, like one of the largest landmass states in America, this has got to be essentially like hitting a quadruple bullseye from like 400 miles away and from a dartboard. This is the chance of that happening has got to be astounding. Well, anyway, the story actually goes on a little bit, and I don't know this for fact, but I've heard it through the grapevine, and I did some research back in 2009 that essentially he got back to California and liquidated all of his abortion businesses and got out of the abortion business immediately. I'm not saying that that was the wrath of God, but it's a horrible event where 14 people had to perish in a cemetery like that. But when you are the largest abortion provider, private abortion provider in the world, and your entire family perishes essentially in the Tomb of the Unborn, that should wake you up, people. I don't know if God has a wrath. I mean, he has in the scriptures. I don't know if he's had a wrath anytime in recent history or not, but that should make you think about it. And if you're inclined to abortion, if you're inclined to believe that it's a right, or you're inclined to actually participate in it, I think you should actually read about Bud Feldkamp, because it's an astounding story that should make you think twice about it. And so this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, pray the Daily Rosary, and God bless you. Have a Holy Thursday. Take care.